Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. Morning light spills across the bed as I reach for my phone, the dull hum of a new message nudging me awake. It's 7:03 a.m., an ordinary start to what I expect to be just another day. But then, I see it, a video message, and my heart sinks into an icy dread. I tap the play icon hesitantly. The video rolls, and there I am, unmistakably tangled in a passionate embrace with my wife, Clara. But something's off. It's not just a private moment gone digital, it's laced with malice, a recording neither of us would ever consent to share. As the clip stutters to an end, a text flashes beneath it: "If you don't want everyone to see this, then drop me $100,000. The blood drains from my face. My hands tremble as I lock the phone and throw it beside me on the bed. Thoughts race, a tornado of confusion, betrayal, and fear. I've heard of things like this happening, but to stumble into such a nightmare myself. Taking a deep breath, I decide to confront Clara directly. She's downstairs in the kitchen, humming to herself, blissfully unaware of the storm about to break. As I descend the stairs, the smell of brewed coffee does little to soothe my nerves. "Clara," I begin, my voice steady despite the chaos brewing inside. She turns, a smile playing on her lips, which falters as she takes in my grave expression. "What's wrong, Mark? You look like you've seen a ghost." I don't answer. Instead, I hand her my phone, the damning message still on the screen. Her eyes widen as she watches, color draining from her face. When the video ends, she covers her mouth, her eyes brimming with tears. "Mark, I don't know what to say. I had no idea. Who would do this, Clara? Who else knows about us like this?" I demand, trying to keep the suspicion from my voice. She shakes her head frantically, tears now streaming down her cheeks. "I don't know, Mark, I swear. Please, you have to believe me. We need to pay them. I can't let this get out. It would ruin us." Her desperation is palpable, and for a moment, I believe her. But there's a nagging doubt at the back of my mind, a whisper telling me things aren't quite adding up. However, her panic is infectious. We'll figure this out, Clara," I say, though I'm far from certain. "We need to think this through, not rush into paying a ransom that might not even guarantee silence." "But what other choice do we have?" she sobs, clutching the edge of the kitchen counter for support. I wrap my arms around her, the familiar scent of her hair momentarily calming my nerves. "Let's talk to someone. Get some advice on how to handle this." As I hold her, a plan begins to form in my mind, not just to deal with the blackmailer, but to peel back the layers of this deception. If there's more to Clara's panic, I need to uncover it. But for now, I must play the part of the reassuring husband, even as my mind races with doubts and the lurking shadows of betrayal. Little do I know, this is just the beginning of a dark spiral that will upend everything I thought I knew about my life, my love, and the lengths to which people will go for greed. The morning's revelations hang heavy between us as Clara and I drive to meet with Jonathan Kent, a private investigator recommended by a mutual friend. The city passes in a blur, reflecting my turbulent thoughts. I keep glancing at Clara, who stares out the window, her usual vibrance dimmed by shadows of worry. We pull into a nondescript building tucked away on a quiet side street. The brass plate next to the door reads, "Kent Investigations." I feel a mix of apprehension and a desperate need for answers as we step inside. Jonathan Kent proves to be a man of sharp eyes and few words. His office is stark, walls lined with certificates and commendations. He invites us to sit and I lay out our problem without mentioning my suspicions about Clara. "So, you received a threat linked to a personal video?" Jonathan's voice is gravelly, his eyes piercing as they flick between Clara and me. "Yes, and we need to stop this before it spirals out of control," I say, trying to sound more confident than I feel. Clara interjects, her voice trembling. "Please, Mr. Kent, you have to help us. We're willing to pay. Jonathan raises a hand, silencing her. Money isn't the issue here. Blackmail is a game of leverage. Pay once, and you'll be paying forever. He turns his attention to me. You want to catch who's doing this? More than anything, I affirm. Jonathan nods slowly, as if calculating. I'll need access to your phones and any computers you use frequently. Anything they could have used to access your personal files. We agree, handing over our devices. As Jonathan's assistant, a keen-eyed young woman named Lisa, begins her work, Jonathan pulls out a map of the city. We'll start by checking for any known digital criminals in the area and any connections you might not be aware of. The investigation kicks into gear. Clara seems anxious, wringing her hands as we wait. Jonathan notices her discomfort. It's often someone close who leaks personal videos. You sure there's no one who might benefit from this? He asks, watching Clara closely. Her response is too quick. No, absolutely not. We don't have any enemies. Jonathan's gaze lingers on her before he nods and continues detailing his strategy. After a few hours, Lisa returns, looking puzzled. I found something odd. There were multiple recent accesses to your cloud storage, Mark. But the access points are scrambled, using proxies. She looks between us. It's sophisticated. Someone really didn't want to be tracked. Can you trace any of it back? Jonathan asks, his brow furrowed. Lisa shakes her head. Not easily, but I did catch a break. One of the proxies slipped up for a moment, it rerouted through a local cafe known for its tech crowd. That's our first stop, Jonathan declares. Mark, you'll come with me. Clara, it might be best if you stay here. Clara starts to protest, but I squeeze her hand. It's okay. Let us handle this. As Clara settles into a chair, her eyes filled with unspoken fears, Jonathan and I head out. The drive to the cafe is tense, filled with the hum of the city and Jonathan's occasional murmurs to contacts on his phone. Arriving at the cafe, we spot a group of young tech enthusiasts, their tables cluttered with gadgets and laptops. Jonathan nods to me, a signal to stay alert. We approach the group, Jonathan leading the conversation. Mind if we ask a few questions? We're investigating a security breach linked to one of your regulars. The techies exchange nervous glances, their curiosity piqued. One lanky individual with sharp eyes speaks up. What's it about? Maybe we can help. Jonathan lays out a vague outline, watching for reactions. It's then I notice one of them, a young man with an evasive look, trying to pack up his things quietly. Before he can leave, Jonathan stops him. Let's have a chat, son. Might want to see what's on your laptop first. The cafe quiets as everyone watches. The young man reluctantly opens his laptop, revealing encrypted files that catch Jonathan's eye. You're into some heavy privacy tech, Jonathan observes. Mind if we take a closer look? As Jonathan delves deeper with the young techie, I can't help but feel we're on the brink of unraveling something significant. But the look in Clara's eyes before we left lingers in my mind, a silent storm brewing beneath her fear. Inside the bustling cafe, tension curls in the air, thick and palpable as Jonathan questions the young techie, whose hands hover nervously over his encrypted laptop. The crowd's curious glances feel like spotlights, highlighting our every move. Look, I just protect my privacy, okay? The techie stammers, his gaze darting around as if seeking an escape route. Jonathan isn't buying it. Privacy is one thing, hiding something is another. We're not leaving until we see what's behind all these layers of security, he asserts, his voice carrying an edge that silences the murmurs around us. Sweat beads on the young man's forehead as he reluctantly types in a password, revealing a flood of files, their contents scrolling too fast for my eyes to follow. Jonathan's assistant, Lisa, who had followed us, steps forward with a small device, connecting it to the laptop. This will help us see if there's anything linked to the video or the blackmail. As the device whirs, processing data, I scan the cafe, my mind racing. Each patron seems engrossed in their own world, yet every so often, a pair of eyes flicks toward us, curious or maybe anxious. The device beeps, a sharp sound that draws everyone's attention. Got something, Lisa announces, pointing at a series of transactions and an email chain that pops up on the screen. The content is heavily coded, but one email stands out. It mentions a payment and an attached file with a familiar timestamp. The day before we received the blackmail. Jonathan leans closer, his eyes narrowing. Who were you in contact with about this payment? He demands. The techie swallows hard, his facade crumbling. It's not what you think. I was just asked to send the file through my server. I don't know anything about a blackmail. Who asked you? Jonathan's voice is like a hammer, each word striking harder. A guy. Calls himself the broker. He pays well, and I don't ask questions. The techie's voice is a mix of defiance and fear. Where can we find him? I interject, my patience waning. He hesitates, biting his lip, then sighs. I meet him online. Never seen his face. But he's planning something big today. Said it was the final step. Jonathan exchanges a quick glance with Lisa, who nods and starts typing rapidly on her own device. I can track the last location where he accessed his server, might lead us to him. Let's move, Jonathan commands, and we're out the door, following Lisa's lead. The trail leads us across the city to a rundown warehouse district, far from the digital cleanliness of the cafe. The sun is setting, casting long shadows between the dilapidated buildings, giving the area an eerie feel. We approach a warehouse, its exterior unremarkable and deserted. Jonathan signals us to stay quiet as we near a side door. It's slightly ajar, a sliver of light escaping onto the pavement. Police are on their way, but we need to confirm he's in there, Jonathan whispers, drawing a small handgun from his jacket. My heart races, the reality of our situation settling in. This isn't just digital shadows and threats, it's real and potentially dangerous. Jonathan pushes the door open gently, the hinges whispering in protest. We slip inside, the interior murky and vast. Rows of computer servers blink rhythmically, their soft hum filling the space. A figure is hunched over a terminal, oblivious to our presence. Police. Don't move. Jonathan's command echoes off the walls, startling the figure who spins around, revealing not the hardened criminal we expected, but a young woman, her eyes wide with shock. I don't understand. What's going on? Her voice is shaky, her hands raised. We're stopping a blackmail operation, I say, stepping forward. Are you the broker? Her laugh is hollow, bitter. No. That's just a role I play. The real broker? You'd be surprised. It's all a game, and you're in the middle of it. As sirens wail in the distance, getting louder, I feel a chill. Jonathan is right, this was about leverage. But the scale of deception, the layers of betrayal, are only now beginning to unfold. The true mastermind is still out there, and the stakes are higher than we ever imagined. The sirens wail louder as they converge on the warehouse, piercing the tense silence inside. The young woman, still with her hands raised, shakes her head in disbelief. Jonathan keeps his gun trained on her, his eyes never wavering. I'm not who you need to be worried about, she insists, her voice steadier now. The real broker, he's using all of you. Lisa, still near the entrance, signals us that the police have arrived. Officers pour into the warehouse, their presence a stark contrast to the shadowy, digital world we've been navigating. Take her, Jonathan orders, and 2 officers escort the woman away, her protests echoing faintly back to us. Jonathan turns to me, his expression grave. We're missing something. This was too easy. As we step outside, the cool evening air hits me like a splash of water. The real game player was still out there, manipulating from behind a screen of proxies and pawns. We returned to the office, and I immediately noticed Clara sitting in the waiting area, looking anxious but unharmed. Her relief at seeing me is palpable, but my mind is still racing, piecing together every interaction, every look of surprise, and every hesitated word. "Mark, you're okay." Clara rushes over, her concern genuine, but something in her eyes makes me pause. "Did you find who's behind this?" I nod, but my response is slow, calculated. "Yes, but there's more to it. It's deeper than we thought." Jonathan, overhearing our conversation, interjects. "We need to talk. In private." He gestures to his office. Inside, Jonathan closes the door and faces me with a serious look. "Mark, during our investigation, we traced financial transactions linked to the blackmail. They don't just lead to techies and intermediaries, they lead back to an account that's disturbingly close to you." My heart sinks. "What do you mean?" He passes me a sheet of paper, and as I scan the document, my stomach churns. The account is in Clara's name. I look up at him, my expression must mirror the betrayal I feel. "We confronted her with the evidence while you were out. She broke down, admitted everything. She was the architect, Mark. She and her so-called lover devised the plan to siphon money from you, playing on your fears." The room spins slightly as the pieces click into place, each memory of her tears and panic now tainted with the stain of deceit. "Why didn't you tell me right away?" My voice is barely a whisper. "We needed her confession, and we needed it legally sound. She was planning to run once she got the money," Jonathan explains, his tone sympathetic yet firm. Clara enters the room, her eyes not meeting mine, escorted by an officer. "Mark, I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to go this far," she pleads. "Save it, Clara. Just tell me why." The question feels hollow, knowing no answer could suffice. "It was never about the money, not really. It was about control. I felt like you never saw me, never heard me, until it was through that lens." She gestures futilely, her reasoning as fragmented as our future. The officer takes her away, her soft sobs a stark soundtrack to the closing of this chapter of my life. In the aftermath, as the legal proceedings unfold and the dust settles, I find a new resolve. Jonathan offers me a position with him, using my experience to help others trapped in digital nightmares of their own. It's not a path I would have chosen, but it's one I embrace with a clear vision. In a twisted turn, the pain of betrayal seeds a new beginning, one where I can make a difference. The game was over, the queen had fallen, and from the chaos, a new strategy for life emerges, one move at a time.